Hey, good morning. Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on, broadcasting from my balcony, overlooking the neighborhood, operating from the home studio, but it's hot. It's hot. It's hot. Might hear a little background noise while we do this. I won't be before you very long. I couldn't leave you hanging. I just wanted to get on here and chit chat with you, communicate with you, contemplate the community, the things that are before us. Let me get my sunglasses. Record heats going on in Southern California, and indeed the whole West Coast, the Northwest is hot. It's supposed to be near 100. We're out here by the water. It's still hot. Hope you're keeping cool. Hope you're preserving your energy sources at your home, at your place of business. Drink plenty of water. Man, sounds like water is a commodity around these here parts, not around here, but down there, Jackson, Mississippi. Have you seen the news? The water is unusable, undrinkable, can't even flush your toilets. Man, maybe we need to make a water drive and try to send some water down to our brothers and sisters in Jackson, Mississippi. I saw a thought on the news this morning that probably begs a little more investigation, because it did cross my mind when the news was first breaking. Jackson, Mississippi, the capital of the state of Mississippi, hard fought battleground politically, the home of segregation, Jim Crow, lynchings, just all kinds of legacy in the terror against people of color in that region of the nation. And the victories are that the people were able to get the vote, the people were able to prevail, they were able to place Black people in positions of political power. And this has been going on for a couple of generations now. Did the people of color neglect the infrastructure that is needed to operate the power, to operate the water, the basic necessities of the people? Is it easy to take for granted the infrastructure needed? How do you get water to the residents of your community? And we're in this drought out here in California. You're starting to learn, if you pay attention, just all of the different sources where we get our water. Earlier this year, we were up in Las Vegas for a convention, but we decided to drive out to the Hoover Dam. We made that business trip into kind of a sightseeing venture after we handled all of our business, which is something that we do in our travels. Went out to the Hoover Dam, and you could see how drastically shallow the Colorado River was. I have an old fishing spot out in the Colorado River, literally on the California-Arizona border, and I've been itching to get out there. I haven't been out there in a few years. I've been itching to get out there, pitch my tent along the riverbank, get some catfish out of there, ginormous catfish. But I'm wondering, what is it like at that end of the Colorado River? I watched another report yesterday that talked about the scientists were reintroducing beavers in a certain point of a river, and the beavers building their dams were able to revitalize an area that had been affected by drought. So whereas in previous years, the beaver was considered a pest and they were going after them, trying to exterminate them, minimizing the populations of the beavers. Sorry about that. They're testing fire alarms around here. It's kind of noisy. I was hoping I could get a quick one in before they started back up. But beavers are out there, getting exterminated because heretofore they had been considered a pest. But generations later, they realized that they need those beavers, and so the beavers began to build their dams, and lo and behold, the waters passed downstream from the dams began to rise. The vegetation began to come back. Wildlife, fish, and everything started to come back. So the natural order of things, right? And I think that what we're seeing around here, around our country, around the world, even, is that the result of our not paying attention to infrastructure, not paying attention to the natural order that the Lord has put in place for for nature. But back to Jackson, Mississippi, man, what a tragedy. Predominantly African American communities down there. Some of y'all got kinfolk down there in that area, right? Struggling with the water on a very real level. I mean, it's going to take billions to repair the infrastructure. And the sister got on there and she was saying, hey, we had black led political parties. So is it true that the brothers and sisters in political power at that hard fought battle, did they neglect the water supply and what was needed? Did they put dollars in other spaces when dollars were needed to make sure that the mechanisms, what is it, not factories, the water treatment plants, all those things for water to get to our homes to do what we do, we need H2O, yeah? Was that part neglected? It's interesting because if we pay attention, a couple of months back, we had the Honorable Omar Bradley on Coffee Conversations with Greg J. And he was talking about the water in Compton and how it's kind of a debate over who has governance over the water. While Compton maintains on paper the governance, he was saying that there were like county vehicles in the place where the water facilities were maintaining the water, and he was begging the question, hey, why is that? If we maintain our own water supply, if we maintain all of the mechanisms that are in place to make sure that clean water gets to the residents of the community. It's something to think about. Maybe we'll reach out to some of the water experts. Got the Southern California Water District. Is that the political body that governs the water that comes into our area? There's a lot going on in our environment. We have to begin to really include sustainability in our conversations as we strive for political equity, social justice. Social justice includes water issues, sanitation issues, green power. We today about starting to talk about eliminating gas powered vehicles by 2035. Begs the question. We're all going to have to be buying electric vehicles. Do I have a charging station in my community? Is it accessible? Accessibility is a thing. It's a lot before us in these days and time. We're coming out of recovery and realize we aren't doing the same things how we used to be. Going back to normal isn't the question. It's a new normal. And every day that we're learning. Look at the heat today. I'm out here on the balcony. Yeah, a lot of noise pollution going on, but I still want to communicate with my people, and I'm sure you hear me just fine. But it's going to be triple digits today, tomorrow, all through the Labor Day weekend. Some parts of town are going to be record-breaking heat. It's hot out here, man. That's why we're out here on the balcony. What I'm about to say, let me put this disclaimer. I'm the incoming president of the Arts Council for Long Beach, California, where we originate. I'm the incoming president. And what I'm about to talk about are not the views and opinions of the staff and management of the Arts Council for Long Beach. They're my own. I have long been an advocate for the arts, an observer of pop culture, a fan of theater, art, music. Wherever I go, you know what it is. You see us talking about this stuff on Coffee Conversations with Greg J on BeachCityRadio.com, on Beach City Perspective. Everywhere we go, the underlying thing is preservation and promotion of the arts, particularly from a Black perspective. I went to a play last Friday, and it was given by the local, you know, play theater company. They are predominant in the art space. I would say that there are 9 predominant arts organizations in the city of Long Beach. They get preference, deference in a lot of spaces because they are identified as major proprietors of arts. This particular theater company is one of them. And they have a program where they aim Black and brown kids to the theater as a way to introduce these young people to, the performing arts in a space where they probably would not be able to see high level performing arts. They traditionally choose a Black themed play to present in this program, written by Black authors or directed or, telling a Black story. Um, I went this time. The story was set forth in apartheid South Africa. And I got to be honest with you, I was a little troubled by the storyline and the theme. Well, the storyline was okay, but the themes and underlying storylines in the presentation awakened trauma in my heart. And I've been contemplating this for the full week since I experienced this particular presentation. Now, maybe it's because I have been to South Africa at least 10 times, where Nelson and Winnie Mandela lived. I've been in Soweto, the all Black township, 4 million people. I've seen the vestiges of apartheid. I have been at the penitentiary where Nelson Mandela, Robert Sobukwe, and others spent time because they spoke out for the rights of Black people in the nation of South Africa, in the struggle against the apartheid government. I've been at the doorstep of Nelson Mandela's cell several times. You've seen the pictures on there several times. So maybe there's a thing to say about perspective. However, when this particular play was brought to my attention that this would be the play that would be the anchor towards this program that brought young people from underserved communities to the playhouse to see an example of high-end performing arts. I didn't know much about it. And so I really did think there needed to be historical context, education about the nature of the apartheid society. That didn't happen. I also feel very, as I experienced it. Now, while this presentation was for young people of color. Let's just face it, it was a majority white audience sitting in enjoying this play. I think the word that keeps coming to my consciousness is that they seem to romanticize this era of white supremacist, systemic racism. I guess they are wrapping their arms around the fact that these people survived this horrific system and that life goes on even under the pressure, the oppression of people of color. This program is also an opportunity for well heeled Black people to come and enjoy the theater. They support it with sponsorship dollars. They support it by buying tickets. There's a VIP dinner. It's an event. It's a thing. They are contributing to bringing Black and brown on its surface a noble experience. But when we get into the auditorium and the play begins to unfold, we're subject to, you know, subtle symbols of white supremacy. The guy's a pumpkin farmer on a farm. He's a sharecropper. Some of y'all remember sharecropping. You're just a generation away from your relatives down south on a sharecropper farm. And he's lamenting that the big house has fallen in a measure of disrepair because the white folks that were living there passed away. He celebrates the fact that white folks are coming through town to look at the property, coming to look at the property, but yet no buyer. He's talking about the rich soil and the pumpkins that they're growing. The pumpkins happen to be white. He called them Boer pumpkins. You say the Boers in South Africa, that is the oppressor. He's proud of the Boer pumpkins. The seeds of the pumpkin have value. The man has a granddaughter who has been raised on the farm with him, who strives to be a singer. She wants to get off the farm and go into the city, Johannesburg, and find her way as a star singer. He is counseling against that and tells her that she should aspire to be chosen to go into the big house to clean the white folks' house. Yeah. So then there's a white guy that comes and he wants to, purchase the house, or he has purchased the house. And so the farmer goes up to the big house with a wheelbarrow full of vegetables and pumpkins that he's grown on the land. And he brings them as an offering to the white man. And he says, "Master, may I still stay on the land? Here is an offering of vegetables and pumpkins for you. May I still stay on the land?" The white man says, "I'll think about it." But he still takes the offering. But he says, "I'll think about it. Master, please, I have been there for many years, on and thus and so." The white man says, "I said, I'll think about it." Other underlying touch points in the storyline is that this brother, because all he did was worship and glorify the land and did nothing to fight against the oppression that beset him. Keynote, he did try to buy the land, but he was denied. He was shuffling about, wanted to keep the status quo. His wife left him. His daughter passed away in childbirth. And yeah, it's a deep story. So as I sat in the auditorium and I'm viewing this, I I'm hit hard in my gut by the images of white supremacy. The straw that broke the camel's back in the whole storyline as the play progressed was the part where he went before the white man to say, Master, may I stay on the land? I verbally, out loud, was like, the end of the play, white folks, oh, bravo, bravo, standing ovation. I left, I was angry. I could see on the faces and the body language of those well heeled black people walking out of the theater that they too were dejected and depressed by what they had experienced. White folks were like, wow, lined up to become subscribers to the performing arts organization that put the play on. They loved it. And I'm just saying, are we psychological slaves to stories that highlight the pornography of Black pain? What is this that we flock to? Presentations that remind us from whence we came. I thought we said we reject those images. Now, to be fair, you'll see a lot of plays that embrace the oppressive times of Jim Crow, segregation, all of that, by great Black playwrights, August Wilson. The other day I was watching the 1950 something film, Porgy and Bess, Sidney Poitier and Dorothy Dandridge. The great, great story. It's a love story, but it's set in down there by like with South Carolina where the Gullah Geechee people are and all that, and there's segregation about, and certainly see the signals and stereotypes of Black folks from that day. And I'm asking myself, how come it didn't hit me hard like this particular presentation? There was a play last year or year before last that was, well, before the pandemic, right? It's called a slave play. It was on Broadway. It was one of the top plays on Broadway. If it won any Tony Awards, it might have won one, but it was nominated for several, highly and hugely acclaimed. But it begged the same type of dialogue that I'm trying to have today. It examines the narrative of slaves on the plantation, and the love story is between the Black slave and the white master, and the interdynamics during the antebellum South on a true love in that manner, how it had to manifest itself and navigate society in those days and time. I think that we as playgoers see and receive things differently. It's like perspective. I really applaud the New York Times sent a committee, if you will, of young writers to see a slave play on Broadway. Some white, some Black, some mixed. And their assignment was to go and see the play and then get together afterwards and have a roundtable discussion among themselves on what they experienced. And you can read how the Black journalist received it, pushed certain buttons in their psyche where it did not with, their white counterparts. Perspective. I think that when we go to theatrical art presentations, we have to be mindful of perspectives. Or is it just is what it is, right? Are we saying that this particular play company should not present uh, these plays that she presents? Because every presentation that I've been to since I've been in Long Beach, and I've been to a few over there, it always portrays a black male that is shiftless, shuffling, drug addict, alcoholic, no good, don't want to work, oppressed, hypersexualized female, black female, all sorts of stereotypes. Is it her place to present that type of presentation? Or is it, as we always say here at Coffee Conversations with Greg J and at the Dream Creator Studio, Hannibal Media Group, Beach City Radio, all of those brands, we operate with the mantra we have to tell our own stories. Which begs the question, if I presented that play, would it resonate with my audience, which is primarily an African American audience, a Black audience from a global perspective? Would it resonate with them in the way that it resonated with me sitting in amongst a majority white audience? If I presented this, in North Long Beach or Leimert Park or South LA, Inglewood, would my audience be offended? Or would they say, this was an interesting story in context of the system of oppression? Why do we give it a pass? Why? Because we lived it and we understand it. And I guess what we're saying is not for white folks to romanticize and celebrate. Because it did at the end, when they gave them the standing O, it did appear like, okay, what y'all are doing is applauding white supremacist systems, oppression. Bravo to the oppression. It doesn't hit you in a sociological or psychological standpoint like it affects us. Oh my God, it was so great, the comments I hear. How did you like it? I hated it. I'm not suggesting at all that we cancel this performing arts organization. I'm just asking a question because I've been wrestling with it for a week now. Like, when we have our artistic expressions that deal with systems of oppression, that profile race relations, racism, is that their story to tell? I don't know. I don't have the answer right now. I do know that we support it. And we have major organizations from the Black community putting up sponsorship dollars up. We have, people who have found great success in the community, in the city, patronizing it. Are we giving up our values? Are we forgetting the road we trod to get to these places of influences? These places of influence, these places of prosperity? Are we selling our soul just so that we can sit alongside them to experience a play? Do we swallow the reaction, the effect, the trauma that is awakened in our heart when we watch such a play? Do we swallow that so that we can be perceived as all right, acceptably Black? That's not my term. That's an advertising age term. Sidebar, the advertising age is our trade magazine for advertising and marketing. Everybody who's involved in advertising and marketing in any way, shape, form, or fashion has some sort of touch point to this publication, to this platform. And when President Barack Obama, he was then the Senator Barack Obama, was running for president, and he was gaining traction and popularity in his run for the presidency. There was an analysis by a writer for the advertising age, and they noted that he was acceptably Black, skin tone. that's a whole other topic, right? And he didn't say it in a malicious or racism way. He really was analyzing the brand, Barack Obama, right? Acceptably black. We have something called the Tom Bradley effect, and when you begin to analyze political movements, the Tom Bradley effect is when Tom Bradley, former mayor of Los Angeles, ran for governor of California, right? He had extreme popularity. He had exceedingly high poll numbers. But when they got into the polls, they just could not bring themselves to vote for a black man to be governor of the state of California. It's called the Bradley effect. Perspectives. The struggle continues, y'all. That's really what we're saying here. I'm not trying to call anybody out. I am concerned that we continue to support plays and organizations that may not be sensitized to how we may feel having these images regurgitated in an artful fashion. It's something else, you know. And you'll hear this theme, repeated time and time again on Coffee Conversations with Greg J. I really want to um, touch my theater people all across the country and examine this. We had Tony Simmons Henson come on. She's the executive director of the Black Theater Festival of Atlanta. And we kind of talked about this a little bit, but and remember, it was after that blues. I can't remember Blues of the Night. What was the name of that play that they did at this same performing arts organization? Presented this play, and I took offense to it because I really felt fatigued from here we are again showing the black man as shiftless, not wanting a job, womanizer, the whole shot, right? It was really offensive. And I walked out of there going, this is whack. And some of my, as some of the other white theater goers were like, oh my God, it was so good. It was so good because they enjoy seeing us in these types of situations. Now, on the other hand, you'll say, Brother Greg, shouldn't we exert the same type of analyses to, I was with some friends of mine not too long ago, and we began to talk about raising Canaan. One of the, what would you say, the prequel to Ghost Power. Remember those are, it was all about drug dealing in the street, hustling and gangsterisms and all that. And we love that stuff, right? But isn't that too feeding into a stereotype? Or is it just pulp fiction, mystery novel? That's how I look at it. I've always classified that. It's like kind of like, I really like police stories. I love them on TV. I love them in the movies. I love mafia story. Mafia movie is one of my favorite genres. But I can compartmentalize that. It doesn't hit me as trauma that hard. Is that making an excuse for it? I don't know. I just think that we need to be mindful of what we support, you know, because on the other hand, it could be easily said that this is what this particular theater group promotes. This is what they want. Because to me, the eye of white theater goer, it is reinforcing stereotypes. When they standing ovation, they're standing ovation for systemic racism, seeing the black man subjugated in such a way where he has to come and bow down, master, can I do this? Can I do that? Or seeing the black man as some sort of drunkard and, womanizer. This diversity thing ain't easy, man. That's what I do see. We're trying to be more diverse and inclusive in our society, and it's not easy. The wounds are too deep. What do y'all think? All right. Before I go, today up there, if you're here in Long Beach, there's a place called, I think it's called Baja Sonora. I'm going to do it in a separate post, but the Arts Council for Long Beach, doing a little fundraiser out there. If we go out there and get you some tacos, burritos, tostadas, and whatnot, percentage of the proceeds goes to the Arts Council for Long Beach. I'll be broadcasting live from up there later on today, and I'll be sharing some of the lives that'll be coming from that fantastic restaurant. So just stay tuned for some lives if you're interested, okay? Long Beach Gives is coming up, and the Dream Creator Studio, we're participants there. We want you to support us for some of our programs that we are emerging with. We've got a lot on in our little corner of the world. We're emerging, and so we love to have your support. Support our nonprofit Dream Creator Studio. About to launch that newspaper. We're working hard on it. We just grinding it out, man. Beach City Perspective. We want to continue to give you the news that's culturally relevant from around the globe because we believe in a global perspective. It's a global society now. You have the internet. You can talk to anyone in the world. You can communicate with anyone in the world. You can do commerce with anyone in the world now. It's a new day. Open your horizons. Get your passports too. You got a trip to Ghana coming up. Gonna take you a little bit more of that. You want to go to Ghana with us? It's going to be a bomb, baby. That's what's up. Contemplations, y'all. Leave you with this. You can get us on a number of our different Facebook pages. Coffee Break J. We're on YouTube. We're on LinkedIn with this broadcast, and we're on Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. I'm out here on the balcony. It's cool because it's hot out there. If I go a couple of feet that way, the sun is beaming down. It's hot. Stay cool, stay hydrated, stay prayerful, stay peaceful. And above all, love one another. Love one another. Love one another, y'all. Peace and blessings. Yeah, I can't find my. So fun to be out here improvising.